My affair with a co-worker left me pregnant. I never expected my husband to snap. The coffee mug shattered against the kitchen wall, spraying dark liquid across the pristine white tiles like blood from a wound. I froze, my heart hammering in my throat, as my husband, David, stood trembling, his knuckles white around the edge of the counter. "You're pregnant." His voice was a low growl, raw with something I couldn't name. Anger, yes, but something deeper, more jagged. Betrayal. I opened my mouth, but no words came. The air between us crackled, thick with the secret I'd carried for weeks, now spilling out in the worst way possible. It started innocently enough, or so I told myself. Late nights at the office with Ethan, the new graphic designer, whose easy smile and quick wit made the long hours bearable. We'd share takeout in the break room, our knees brushing under the table, the hum of the vending machine filling the silence. I'd catch myself staring at the way his fingers moved across his sketchpad, deliberate and sure, and feel a flutter I hadn't known in years. David was always home, steady and predictable, his love a warm blanket I'd grown too used to. Ethan was a spark, dangerous and bright. I didn't mean for it to happen. That's what I whispered to myself in the shower, scrubbing my skin until it stung, as if I could wash away the guilt. The first kiss was a mistake, a moment of weakness after too much wine at a team dinner. But the second, the third, they were choices. Stolen moments in the copy room, his breath hot against my neck, my heart racing with equal parts thrill and terror. I told myself it was nothing serious, just a fling to shake off the monotony of my life. David would never know. He didn't deserve to. But the nausea came, relentless and unforgiving. The pregnancy test confirmed it. 2 pink lines staring back at me like a jury's verdict. I sat on the bathroom floor, the cold tiles biting into my thighs, and tried to convince myself it could be David's. We'd been together, hadn't we? Not often, not lately, but it was possible. I clung to that lie, even as Ethan's face flashed in my mind, his eyes soft and searching when I told him. "What are we going to do?" he'd asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't answer. I couldn't. David noticed the changes. The way I flinched when he touched me, the way I avoided his gaze at dinner. "What's wrong, Sarah?" he'd ask, his brow furrowed, his voice gentle but edged with worry. I'd mumble excuses, work stress, exhaustion, anything to keep him from digging deeper. But the truth was a living thing, clawing its way to the surface. Last night, I'd left my phone on the counter, a careless mistake. A text from Ethan lit up the screen. "We need to talk about the baby." David saw it before I could snatch the phone away. Now, here we were, the wreckage of our marriage laid bare. "How long?" David asked, his voice breaking. He wasn't looking at me, his eyes fixed on the coffee pooling on the floor. I wanted to lie, to say it was a one-time thing, but the weight of his pain pinned me to the truth. "A few months," I admitted, my voice small. He laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that cut deeper than any shout. "Months," he repeated, as if tasting the word. "And the baby?" I couldn't meet his eyes. "I don't know, who?" The admission hung between us, heavy and suffocating. David's face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought he might cry. Instead, he turned and walked to the living room, his footsteps deliberate, like a man marching to his own execution. I followed, my heart pounding, expecting him to yell, to demand answers. But he didn't. He sank onto the couch, his hands clasped tightly, and stared at the wall. The silence was worse than any argument, thick with the ghosts of our shared life, late-night talks, lazy Sundays, the promises we'd made. I wanted to beg for forgiveness, to explain the loneliness that had driven me to Ethan, but the words felt hollow even in my mind. Then he spoke, his voice eerily calm. "I've been saving something for you." He stood and walked to the desk, pulling out a small velvet box. My breath caught, expecting a ring, a gesture of reconciliation. Instead, he opened it to reveal a single key, glinting under the lamplight. "It's to a storage unit," he said, his eyes meeting mine at last, cold and unreadable. "I've been moving my things out for weeks. I knew something was wrong, Sarah. I just didn't know how bad." My stomach dropped. "You're leaving?" I whispered, the words tasting like ash. He nodded, a faint smile twisting his lips. "I was going to wait, to give you a chance to tell me the truth. But now, he tossed the key onto the coffee table, where it landed with a soft clink. You can keep the house. You and whoever's child that is. He walked out the door, his silhouette swallowed by the night. I stood there, alone, the key gleaming like a taunt. The man I'd betrayed had been planning his exit, watching me unravel, and I'd never seen it coming. The betrayal wasn't just mine, it was his, too, in the quiet, devastating way he'd chosen to let me go.